Hi, this is Melody Anderson, and I'm so excited to get all your questions and answering them on the Flash Gordon Movie Archive, and always inviting more in. We have a lot of questions from the UK and also Hungary. So this is open to anybody who comes to this site. So I've had so many great questions. This one's from David from the UK. And he says, Hi, Melody. I am fortunate to have a couple of your original costumes. I don't know how he found them and how much he paid, but they were pretty spectacular. And he asks if, in fact, there were any duplicates. So, David, you're in luck. As far as I know, the only duplicate costume was the one in the beginning with the white suit and the red shirt. But the rest were all originals, and because they were all hand done and hand beaded and everything, there are no duplicates. So hold on to those. They could take care of your pension. My next question is from Paul from London, UK. And he said, What was it like being directed by Mike Hodges? Did he allow the platform to let your personality shine and ad lib during the filming? Well, that's a wonderful question, Paul, because that's exactly what happened. And that's one of the things that made the shoot so fantastic was that there were so many moving parts on this movie, and Mike was pretty busy taking care of everything. But he also, when Sam and I came up with creative ideas, he also let them fly. Obviously we'd wait for his approval, but it allowed us to bring a lot of our own energies to the roles. And that happened in the fight scene at the beginning of the movie when we go to Ming's land. And in the scene, Sam kind of does a football deal. And it came from Sam because the costumes, if you look at them, they're holding these sort of Tiffany egg balls. And Sam says, they look like footballs. Why don't we turn this into a football match? So he worked with some of the stuntmen and he came up with the football routine. And I went, wait a minute, if he's the All-American boy, I'm supposed to be the All-American girl, so I better be a cheerleader. And so that's when I came up with the Go Flash Go and the cheer and all that. None of that was written in the script. And I was able to use it throughout the movie. And you saw at the end when Flash breaks through Ming's my wedding, comes through the wedding, and I say, "Go Flash, go again." So Mike was very open with everybody, and of course, it was such an amazing cast. So, um, that's a great question. Can you remember what Ming's love potion tasted like? It was lime Kool-Aid. So it was a bit sweet, but certainly tolerable. See, this is why I love questions because I never think of this is something that someone will be interested in. So again, thank you. And so from Barry from Newport, UK, what was the most challenging scene you shot on Flash Gordon, and how did you get on with the other actors in the film? Well, it's a two-part question. So first, let me go to the most challenging um, uh, part for me was flying with Zarkov in these crazy, we had these kind of stirrups we stepped into, and then the wires would lift us up over a green screen. That lets you know how old this movie is. Over a green screen. And it was like January in England. You know how damp and cold it is. And this big old air hanger. And they'd have the fan on us and sort of, it was kind of a brief little costume. And then the guys would say, okay, guys, let's break for tea. We'd be left standing up there with the wind blowing. And it was physically the hardest. But as far as the cast is concerned, and probably, and I think um, somebody asked the question, what was my most favorite scene? Um, the the fight with Arnella on the bed with the pillows. And again, she and I came up with that because we were supposed to be tossing each other around. But I said, wait a minute, we're girls. We use pillows. We're not violent. So we got to use pillows, and she and I got along great. We stayed in touch. She's a wonderful, wonderful, successful woman. And she came to LA and we stayed in touch. And I haven't seen her for decades. So I hope she's well. And of course, working with Max von Sydow, what a gift. I mean, one of the great actors and gentlemen and just so professional when we do our shots, and he was off camera for a close-up on me. He still was in costume, and his costume was so heavy that he couldn't even sit down. He had to lean against kind of a ramp so he could rest himself, and not a peep, not a complaint, nothing. And just his brilliant work as Ming and what he came up with. He just captured the whole thing. And of course, Brian Blessed, oh my God. Unfortunately, we've been to the UK a few times and done some shows with Brian, some Comic Cons. And Sam and I just sit in our chairs while, Brian just talks and talks and talks. He's a real Renaissance man. And he threw in a lot of things like on the when we come to his island, he's got me on that on a table, and he pinches me, and it wasn't again in the script, but we were working together, and I responded like Dale Arden would be, quite indignant. Oh my goodness. And he was just clever and wonderful to work with. And same with the man who played Clytus, and the stuntmen were amazing. So, and we were 6 days a week. And kind of in the winter spring time of being in London, so the weather was sort of so we got together. Timothy Dalton was so terrific. I was there by myself, and when we had a break, every once in a while Timmy would ask me over for a Sunday brunch, and we would just talk, and it was just very kind of him. So it was just a wonderful cast of characters, and I think of how grateful and how blessed I am to have had this experience, and it's lasted this long. I always call Flash Gordon sort of the Wizard of Oz of our generation. Although I'm getting older now in a generation, so maybe, well, I'm not going to get into that. All right, so Rodney from Sydney asks, I understand that it was a mixed crew, Italian and English, and from what I heard, the Italians thought that they were making a more serious movie, whereas the English crew thought they were making a more tongue-in-cheek comedic movie, which led to some cross wires. Well, that's pretty close to the truth, Rodney, because what happened was Dino kind of had this Star Wars concept, the seriousness and, boom, 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 and the heavy drums. The screenwriter, who was quite brilliant, Lorenzo Semple, saw it as a comic book, which means it's a camp up. And if you look at those, any of those early shows with Buster Crabbe, they're all send-ups. I mean, the rocket ship is on strings, and you can see it wobbling and everything. I mean, it's a send-up. And so I think Mike stayed very true to it, and he had a lot of shall we say, conversations with Dino about it, and somehow he won, and we made it this wonderful campy, but we were all very serious as characters in it. And so I think the right copy came out, which was the tongue-in-cheek and a comic book feel to it. And my last question, yay, from Budapest, Hungary. This is from Elisa. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. And she says, first of all, and I can use more questions like this, by the way. First of all, I would like to thank you for playing such an important role in the greatest miracle of the world. Nice. Which was my favorite part of the shoot? Well, as I say, besides the scene with Ornella, I really enjoyed the Go Flash Go cheering and working on that and getting that organized. Those were sort of my two favorites. But when it came to it, to the whole picture, the whole thing was amazing. I mean, the design, the fact that we were never even nominated for Best Design and Costume. There was a big conflict with Universal, and who knows. But anyway, so we never even got nominated. Those costumes were brilliant. And the cast and the stuntmen and the crew was wonderful too. So I have to say, really, it was a spectacular experience for me too, Eliza. So thank you for asking. And I look forward to hearing more of your questions. We'll do this again. So please go to the site, and I'm going to make sure I say it right. The site is Flash Gordon Movie Archive in Facebook. And ask me more questions, and we'll do this again. And please check out my site at melodyanderson.com, and you can learn more about the movie and me and other things. So take care. Stay safe out there. Happy holidays.